power company, but they have the power lines.
Yeah.
So if you run off the power line, you do that for traffic times. Back there, it's like there's a short area of special regulations where you can fish in the off season.
Yeah.
And then right past that, it goes back to normal. So all the like washouts from Ned Smith, where they stock the heck out of the creek.
Yeah.
You go fishing there. I mean, I had my friend's dad. His name was Pat. He caught like a 24-inch rainbow trout out of there.
Wow.
Like massive.
Huge.
And not that big, but you know they're huge. Like I've caught one of my friends caught a globe trout there before. I've caught massive brown trout. Like they're all washouts. They're not like newly stocked. They're just it's a pretty good spot.
Oh, I bet they fight good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty big, so.
Nice. All right, I guess we'll start here going over the exam. We'll continue with the fishing stories later. And I want to get into the senses, right? So sensation and perception is this next chapter I want to get into. And maybe we'll do some taste tests if no one's allergic to anything. That'd be cool. Or if you don't like soda, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll try some taste tests. I think that'll be fun to do. See if you can figure out what sodas you're drinking. Or I think I did jelly beans one time. You guys ever play that game, Bamboozle or Bean Boozle? Yeah, the one, I don't like them either, especially the ones like Vomit, Jelly Bean. We won't do that, I promise, because those are a little gross, I think. They make me, ugh, I don't like that. But I want to go over the exam first, and then we'll get into that, okay? Campbell's, Rafa, use yours.
Yep.
All right, cool. Cool. All right, so cerebral cortex. Oh, I forgot. I got to bring up that list here, I guess. See what I can do. I'm going to bring up that list. Bang. Yeah, do that. Got my kitchen done, backsplash up. I was pumped. Looks pretty good. Oh, I was in the wrong chapter. There we go. All right, so cerebral cortex, labeling it, we know is 1, the frontal lobe right behind the forehead. Okay, 2, parietal lobe right on top of the brain. Right, 3, occipital lobe right in the back. And we have the temporal lobe right here alongside of the brain, right where your temples are, right? Okay, so a portion of the cerebral cortex just behind the forehead involves motor cortex and is involved in making plans and judgment. Frontal lobe. Portion of the cerebral cortex at the top of the head, used for general processing, critical thinking, and mathematical reasoning. Parietal lobe. Portion of the cerebral cortex involved with auditory processing. Temporal lobe. All right, portion of the cerebral cortex back of the brain responsible for visual functions. Occipital lobe. All right, limbic system. 1, amygdala. Right? Okay, little bulbs there at the end of the hippocampus. 2, hypothalamus, right in the middle, right in the center. Okay. Number 3, the hippocampus, the arms that branch off the hypothalamus. Okay, and then we all know the amygdala's branched off of that. This part of the brain connects your present and past memories, the hippocampus. This part of the brain relates to memory and emotion, the largest role of dealing with feelings of pleasure, amygdala. Part of the brain analyzes blood, regulates body temperature, detects imbalances like feeling thirsty or hungry. Hypothalamus. Brainstem. 1, the thalamus at the top. 2, the pons. Okay. And 3, reticular formation. And finally, 4, the medulla. All right, bulge low in the brainstem regulates body functions, including breathing and blood pressure, heart rate. Medulla. Latin for bridge, which relays signals from cerebellum that deals with movement, sleep, respiration, swallowing, bladder control, hearing, eye movement, and facial expressions, the pons. Pencil-shaped bundle of nerve cells that forms this brain central core helps keep the brain awake and alert. Reticular formation. Like the central processing chip of the computer, directs all incoming and outgoing sensory and motor traffic, the thalamus. Little brain, which enables one type of nonverbal learning and memory, helps judge time, regulate our emotions, discriminate sounds and textures, helps with balance. Cerebellum. We'll talk about one of the senses today, the vestibular sense, which also helps with balance. Okay, we'll go over that a little bit today. All right, this part of the brain is located in the temporal lobe and controls receptive language, the Wernicke's area. This part of the brain is located in the left frontal lobe and is involved in expressive language, the Broca's area. All right, this part of the brain is the messenger between the left and right hemispheres. Severe cases of epilepsy, this part of the brain is cut to reduce seizures, corpus callosum. All right, the neuron. So this is the beginning of the chapter. 1, we have the dendrites. 2, the soma. 3, we have the axon terminals. All right, branching off here. 4, we have the myelin sheath, outer coating. 5, the nucleus. 6, the axon, a long fiber. Microscopic spaces between the myelin cells that cover the axon. These spaces are important because they keep the action potential going through the long axon. Nodes are Ranvier. Protects the axon, an electrical signal that is carrying much like the orange plastic coating does an electrical cord. Myelin sheath. Single larger transmitter fiber that extends from soma, the axon. Central part of the neuron that contains the nucleus, the soma. Receiver part of the neuron, which accepts most of the incoming messages, the dendrites. There's initial movement of energy from the soma to the axon, the absolute threshold. There's a period after action potential, also known as the recharging period, the refractory period. Once action potential is released, there's no going back, all or nothing principle. This is a phase of the neuron when it is waiting to be fired, resting potential. This is a phase when the signal is being sent down the axon to the axon terminals, action potential. This is referred to as a gap between neurons where information is sent to another neuron, the synapse. Where neurons connect, these chemicals are released, which allows communication between the two neurons, neurotransmitters. All right, so these are the vocab terms. So specialty in psychology that studies the interaction of biology, behavior, and mental processes, biopsychology. Study that bumps on the skull could reveal our mental abilities and character traits. Phrenology. Individuals best adapted to the environment are more likely to flourish and reproduce. Natural selection. Occurs when there is damage to any other several cortical areas, can cause impaired use of language. Aphasia. The nervous system, and especially the brain, has the ability to adapt or modify itself as a result of experience, plasticity. An organism's genetic makeup, the blueprint for what an organism is, genotype. An organism's physical characteristics includes chemistry, wiring of brains, phenotype, segment of chromosomes that encodes directions for the inherited physical characteristics of an organism, genes. Thread-like structures consisted mostly of DNA along which the genes are organized, chromosomes. Chemicals are used in neural communication, neurotransmitters. All right, the blank neurons communicate all of our sensory experience to the brain, including vision, hearing, taste, touch, smell, pain, and balance, sensory. Blank neurons from one-way routes, that transport messages away from the brain to the muscles, organs, and glands, motor neurons. Blank neurons, interneurons, relay messages from sensory neurons to other interneurons or motor neurons in complex pathways. All right, studying the brain. This is a way of studying the brain uses multiple electrodes that are pasted to the outside of the head and works like a seismograph that shows activities of billions of neurons, EEG. This way of studying the brain shows an image of emissions from radioactive substances which moves with neural activity, PET scan. This way of studying the brain exposes brain magnetic field, measures radio frequency waves, MRI. And finally, we have here the short answer of the essay. I was going to put the nervous system, the branches of it, but I decided not to then. Describe the process of how neurons connect and communicate with one another. What could occur in the process of neural communication with neurotransmitters? Please include parts and functions of the neuron within your response. So if you want to label how the neuron fires, that's great. So label the different parts, how it obviously comes from the dendrites, receives this information. Nucleus obviously breaks it down, sends the information, traction potential, right, down the axon to the axon terminals, and they connect, right? You need to talk about the connection. So the presynaptic membrane, how this information is being sent through neurotransmitters that rupture, okay, it's accepted by a postsynaptic membrane of the dendrite. And if it's accepted, then that information can be passed to the next neuron. And if it's not, these neurotransmitters that rupture, obviously, some of this information can be sent back to the presynaptic membrane through reuptake, right? So you had to mention that. And if not, if this information is just released through the synaptic cleft, right, the synapse, then that's through diffusion. So it's just kind of lost. So you had to mention those terms and that way of communication in order to receive credit. All right, is there any questions? You guys good? All right. Did I release those scores? I know I put them on Sapphire, but I don't know if I released the information. I guess I should have done that before. Sorry. All right. I did? Oh, good. All right, good. All right. So we're going to move on today. We're going to move on to chapter 4 here. So we're going to get into sensation and perception. Real quick bell ringer for today. So list and describe the basic senses. There we go, the basic senses. All right, here you go. I'll let you guys do that. So we're going to get into hearing, taste, touch, smell. Oh, gave it away. Sorry. All right, so what do we got here? Basic senses. What do we have? How many are there? Sarah? 5. Okay, what are they?
Sight, taste, smell, touch, hearing.
Good. Yeah, there you go. I have to count through them too. Yeah, so we have the 5 basic senses. Okay, hearing, touch, taste, smell, right? And we all know old vision, obviously too. So we're going to talk about how obviously the anatomy of the eye, the anatomy of the ear, okay, and how we perceive this sensation, right? How we sense the world around us. Okay, we all know our brain doesn't actually interact with the outside world. It happens through senses, okay? And it's almost like filters in a way, right? So we filter the world around us. We can actually visualize it, and our brain makes sense of what we're seeing. Same thing with hearing. Okay, we hear a certain thing, and our brain makes sense of what we're hearing. If it's music, good music, right? Like Marilyn Manson. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You like Marilyn Manson, Sarah?
No.
No, you don't. I thought you'd like some of his songs.
Oh no, just like I mean, it's just all negative.
It is a lot. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's kind of weird looking too, I guess. Hopefully he's not watching my YouTube channel, right? Yeah, and then we all know taste, right? So gustation and how we taste different things and how that might work. Olfaction, smelling, right? How we smell different things, and how our senses all work together. Okay, in certain cases, our senses might play tricks on us. Okay, there's some experiments where people, I saw this one video, play it when we get to smell and taste, and how that might play a trick on what we're actually eating. Okay, they have these. You guys know what visors are? Those flat brim hats. Okay, the visors. They put a visor like kind of out, looks like a duck beak on the guy in a way, and they put like I don't know. They put a certain food on top of the visor so that they can kind of see it. They kind of can't, but they smell it, right? So they'll put something like pickle there. Okay, so they smell the pickle. They're like, oh, man, if you don't like pickles, I don't like pickles. I don't like it, but. And they'll put, like, let's say, a brownie in someone's mouth. So they'll smell the pickle and they'll put a brownie in their mouth. They have to tell exactly. They have to understand what they just ate. So they have to tell the person, oh, well, I just ate. It's mushy. Oh, but I smell like a pickle. I smell, like an acid smell to it. And he has to describe it. It's really hard to do, actually. I like to do it here, but I don't know. With food and everything, it'll be tough to do. It'll be tough to do. We'll just watch the video of those guys just acting up. How does that sound? We'll do taste. How about with soda? I like doing the soda taste and test. And so you can maybe tell if it's RC Cola, if it's Pepsi, Coke, or if it's some generic brand like Sam's Cola or something like that. We'll do that later. Right, but anyway, our senses can play tricks on us especially. And we already talked about how our senses especially are wired in with our memories, with experience. Okay, I know for sure whenever I walk into I don't know, JoJo's. There's a certain smell that I like. There's aroma. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this, right? I remember exactly what I want on the menu and what I liked before. Obviously things like that. There's two other senses though I want you to know. So if you have 5 down, great. That's what I wanted you to write down with the basic senses. But there's 2 other ones I want you to write down as well. Okay, so these are the 5 basic, but there's 2 other ones I want you to write. The one is vestibular sense. Okay, and the other one is kinesthetic sense. So we have vestibular, kinesthetic. They call it many other different types of things in the book, but kinesthetic sense makes a little bit more sense to me. How about that? Sense. So vestibular sense, what do you think that is? What is a vestibular sense? What do you think? What is vestibular sense? Campbell, what do you think?
Well, I just looked it up.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Because I did not know. Balance and spatial orientation.
Yeah, good job. So balance, okay, especially with our head or body, like how we can position that in the right way, especially if we're performing an activity, right? Or if just right here, sitting in class, looking up at the board, and how we can maybe position our head and our body in the right way so we can obviously intake whatever other senses we need to do, if it's hearing, seeing, whatever. But vestibular helps especially with balance. Okay, so make sure you guys write that down with balance. All right. In many cases, this is just really, well, actually, the vestibular sense is focused within the ear canal. Right? There's fluid within the ear that allows us to keep our balance. And if that's ever ruptured, or if that's ever in some sort of, if you have an ear infection especially, right, it might throw off your balance and the way you perform certain activities. You might be, kind of falling over, or you're lightheaded in some cases. I know if you get sick, you get a cold or flu, hopefully not COVID-19, right? You kind of feel like you're lightheaded, like you almost lose your balance, right? You guys ever feel that way? That's kind of where that's coming from. Boxers, people that play an impact sport like football. I'm sure in many cases, maybe with running, if you go in a fast pace, or if you like do a quick juke move or something like that, or you turn at a fast rate, you might throw off your balance a bit. Did that ever happen to you, Sarah? No, not really. I guess with long distance, you're not really making quick movements, I guess, right? Not like a quick juke move or anything.
I'm not like
That's true. Yeah, quick turn. Yeah. I know with football, especially, like with getting impacts to the head, getting tackled, or if you're just making a quick move or adjustment, boxing, right? You're getting clubbed in the head. Let's face it. That might rupture some of the, or I guess you could say, cause an imbalance with your vestibular sense, and that could make you fall over, or disrupt your balance. Okay, yeah, your cerebellum helps out with your balance as well, but for the most part, your vestibular is what kind of holds everything in check, holds everything in balance. Okay, there's some videos of boxers and UFC fighters when they're going at it. In many cases, they're just winging left to right. It's like, he has no sort of form. He has no. It's almost like he's falling over when he's in the ring. And when you take many impacts to the head, especially with the temporal lobe and close to where your vestibular sense is located, many of these people just kind of winging left and right. Okay, they're falling over themselves. And it looks like they're uncoordinated or unbalanced. Like, what happened? This is a trained martial artist, right? Okay, and once that vestibular sense is knocked out of whack, it's hard to get back in line. I think kinesthetic sense is really just how we move, right? How we grab objects and place them in certain areas, and maybe the pressure that we need to use for certain things or tasks that we're trying to accomplish, especially with cracking an egg. You're not just going to slam up, crack the egg, right? We need to make sure we have the yolk and make sure that we have we can eat it without getting any shell on it. So with the kinesthetic senses, having that feel for a certain activity that we might do. A good example is just cracking an egg. We've got the egg, we're just going to tap it lightly, and we can just make sure that egg comes out perfectly fine. Can anybody do it with one hand? Two at once, one hand? No? Cameron, can you do it? Oh, I'm pretty good at it. Can dual wield them. Make an Allen. I'm just kidding. Does that make sense, guys? So with posture, okay, especially with trying to perform an activity, or doing it with the correct amount, I guess you could say, muscle. You don't want to muscle it over. Maybe when you're shooting basketball, especially, you have a little finesse to it. You want to try to get it through the hoop without smacking it off the backboard, or maybe throwing it in the stands. Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys work on your vocab for how about a minute or two, and we'll move on. Does that work? I know I just assigned more terms for you today, so I'll get on to that. Or when you're going bowling, Campbell, right? Got to have a little finesse to it. Got to do the flick of the wrist. Get a little rotation on it. No? You got to get out and bowl with your grandparents. They'll love it.
Oh, they just came home from Florida on Sunday.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
For Easter, huh?
Yep.
Nice.
36 words. What the heck?
Oh, what? Is that a lot? Especially you catching fish, right? You have to make sure the cast is out just perfect so the stream can take it. I can definitely tell yesterday was the first time I cast in a while. Oh, man. The line was getting tangled up into the reel, and I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. Oh, that's right. I got to do that. Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, I wish I could go fishing every day.
Same. I just want to catch something today. Oh.
I'm telling you, you gotta go down that bridge.
I might have to.
My little brother is not very good.
Well, he's probably better than me.
he gets his real tangle. Oh my gosh! One time he took my dad's Fenwick. You know the
Yeah.
brand Fenwick. I bought one for like $50. He took my dad's Fenwick. At the end of it, I was like, oh, I'm not getting involved in that.
Ooh.
But he is just so bad with this stuff. Like he gets the real tangle like really fast,
That's me.
and it's just like he doesn't know how to fix it too. He's like
Take it.
13 now, and he's been fishing how many years? And every time he messes up, he's like, "Can you just help me?" And
I'm trying to fish.
I feel bad because I don't want to stop fishing every time he tangles his reel.
Or if he tears a hook.
I
Right.
took him for his birthday, so I had to do it.
Ooh.
Under the terrace, his favorite place to go because you catch him left and right.
Yeah.
And we went. I think it was Easter Day, and there was this kid down there. I went at 7:30 because he wouldn't wake up. So I fished for a solid 2 hours before I went and got him.
Jeez.
This kid was there under the bridge. I'll come back later.
Ugh.
A different spot. I caught 2 fish. I caught like a pretty nice. I think it was like 17 inches of brown trout.
Wow.
And I took it home and ate it. And then I picked him up. The kid was still there at like whatever time. And then we went to pillow fish for a while. We went back because we went to the bridge. And it's like, I don't even know, maybe 1.
Yeah.
It is still under the same bridge.
He's loving it.
We went and had Easter lunch.
No way.
Came back at probably 6 o'clock and we didn't have much daylight left. The stupid kid's still under the bridge.
Oh my
What the
gosh.
heck?
Maybe he lives there.
I don't know. I was like, I felt bad because it's like not proper etiquette to just like kind of ease in. But I didn't fish. Lance just went to the one side of the bridge, slowly started.
Yeah.
The kid eventually left, but I didn't feel bad.
Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable.
But it is like such a good spot. Like I'm telling you.
Well, I'll have to try it out then.
There's a pocket of fishing.
Yeah.
One time we were fishing and some guy, he was waiting. I hate those people when they come and take your spot because they have waiters. Take your hip waiter and get out of here. And when he walked in to the right of us, we're standing on the bridge, he's standing there, and he was casting in front of us while we were casting this way. He caught his limit and then walked away.
Oh,
Within 10 minutes.
jeez. Yeah, that isn't proper etiquette there.
That's a loser right there.
All right, here we go. So, the basics here with senses. All right, we're getting into sensation. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about perception. At the end of this chapter, we'll get into some illusions. Ooh, yeah, we love some illusions, all right? Okay, you guys ever see that with the dress, the blue and gold dress? Oh, that one always throws me for a whirl. All right, so the basics here, we all know that our brain is the way we understand and perceive the world around us, right? These senses, that's actually the filters. Our brain actually doesn't interact with the outside world. We sense it, right? And our brain makes sense of what we are visualizing, what we're hearing, what we're tasting, touching, smelling, whatever, okay? And our brain is making sense of what we're visualizing, or what we're seeing, or what we're sensing. All right, a lot of these locations, like we already know, is located in the sensory cortex, okay? Sensory cortex, we know, is right between the parietal and the frontal lobe of the brain. Okay, we went over that last chapter. That should be already, you guys should already know where that's located. The olfactory bulb, right here, smell, okay, it's right here in green. I know it might be hard to see. Okay, that's located close to that limbic system, which makes sense, right? So when we smell something, it's really related to experience and related to memory. Okay, that's where that limbic system is is located, and it resembles a lot of what we sense. So there we go. Sensory cortex, heavily involved, right? Our senses. We know vision with the occipital lobe in the back of the brain. All right, so with sensation, we all know the 5 main senses. Okay, I know I gave you 2 other ones that I wanted you to know with the vestibular and kinesthetic sense, but with the 5 sensations, okay, I'd like you to know. So sensations, process by which a stimulator receptor, eyes, ears, creates a pattern of neural messages that represent the stimulus to the brain, giving rise to our initial experience of the stimulus. Sensing the world around us. That picture's always funny. Lady with her tongue out. Sticking her tongue out at you. All right, so sensing the world around us. Our brain makes an understanding of it and makes sense of what we're visualizing, what we're hearing, what we're tasting, what we're touching. You guys good with that? Can I move on? Campbell, you need a little bit more time? You good? All right, so with our senses, we'll talk about this when we get towards hearing and auditory functioning, but with sound and how we try to perceive this information through transduction. All right, we'll get into transduction here soon, but transduction is really just that neural message being sent to our brain, wherever in the brain, mostly our sensory cortex, but in many cases, if we're hearing something, it might be in our temporal lobe, or if we're seeing something, it might be in our occipital lobe. But transduction occurs when, and it's that neural firing, messaging that's being sent to our brain to a certain location where we can make sense of what we're sensing. These neural impulses are very similar, okay? Whether it's visualizing something, whether it's hearing something, okay, an auditory nerve is always towards the end of this the anatomy of the functions that are occurring in our brain. Whether it's our ear, there's an auditory nerve, okay. Whether it's visualization towards the end of the retina, right, in the back of the eye, there is an auditory nerve that sends that information to whatever lobe in the brain that will be processing that information. And we'll talk about wavelength, we'll talk about frequency, whether it's with vision, whether it's with hearing, okay, and how that all plays into account what types of colors we're seeing, what types of rays that are being sent, whether it's radio waves, whether it's gamma rays, whether it's UV rays, right? And we'll talk about with sound, different pitch, okay, different tone, whatever it might be. All right, so perception, mental process that elaborates and assigns meaning to the incoming sensory patterns. So how we perceive this information. So we can sense it, but our brain needs to make some sort of perception of it, to make an understanding of what we're sensing. And this one's commonly used, this illusion, I guess you could say. The vase or the two faces. I'm sure you've seen that one before. What do you see, Sarah? What do you see, the vase or the two faces?
We'll have to say both of them.
Oh, you see both. Okay. What one really stands out to you, though? The faces? Yeah. I think that's for me, too. So the figure and ground is dependent on what you perceive, I guess, right? Whenever you look at it. But you see both. Looks kind of like a, what is it called? Like a pawn in chess. Like, oh, this kind of looks like a pawn, and this almost looks like a different type of piece. But yeah, there's a vase. Okay, we all know the two faces. So perception is how we visualize something, right? How we perceive the outside world, how we make sense of what we are sensing. All right, so sensation perception. This is an interesting one too. So I'm going to let you guys look at the picture for how about 2 seconds? I'll time it for 2 seconds. And you tell me if the two pictures are different and what is different about it. Sound good? Ready? 1, 2. Is there anything different with the pictures? What was different?
Facial features.
Nuh-uh.
It looked like that. I don't know.
Booker, what do you see? The eyes were different? Okay. Campbell, you see anything?
I didn't see it.
I thought
Too
the
quick
mouth
for
was
you.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, Speedy Gonzalez, right? Oh, I can't say him. Got canceled now. Never mind. Poor Speedy. Hannah, you see any difference there? The mouth. Okay. So the eyes and the mouth. Good job, guys. You guys picked it out. So the eyes and mouth are actually flipped. Okay. You really can't tell at first because, if you do it pretty quick, it's hard to really pick out what's different between the two pictures. And we actually visualize something, it's upside down. Our brain actually places it right side up for us, which is interesting. Right? So when we're visualizing something, our brain actually perceives it. Is that it? Oh my gosh, that is it. Darn it. That one quick. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Talk about fishing too long.
I know. Oh, man. All right. We'll continue this on tomorrow. See you guys later. I'll try those spots out. Maybe not today, but soon.